morning. I'm audible. Slides are visible, students?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. Let us continue with the microprocessor-based personal computer system. So, what are microprocessor-based personal computer system? Anybody? The microprocessor-based systems are those systems in which the key component is the microprocessor. Okay? And the microprocessor-based system consists of the microprocessor, memories, the input device, and the output devices. Okay? And all these blocks or components are interconnected by buses. Then what is a bus? Bus is a set of lines that carries the data, the address, or the control signals. And we have discussed the memory and the input or output system. Okay. And what is the memory structure in case of all Intel 86 and Pentium based personal system? The memory structure in these microprocessors are similar. That means the memory system is divided into three parts. Which are those? Anybody? So how the memory system is divided in all these microprocessors? The memory system is divided into three parts. So first one is the transient program area, second one is the system area, and the third one is the extended memory system. And what is the size of the transient program area? It is 640 kilobytes, and the system area is of 384 kilobytes in length. Okay. And what this transient program area contains? So this transient program area holds the operating system program, okay, and other programs that controls the computer. And what is system area? System area contains programs for the data storage. Okay. And this transient program area and the system area together form 1 megabyte of real memory or the conventional memory. So what do you mean by real memory or conventional memory? So each of the microprocessor, okay, whether it is 86 base microprocessor or Pentium based microprocessor, they're all designed to function in this area. That means in this 1 megabyte of real memory in its real mode operation. So that is why this first 1 megabyte of memory is called as the real memory or the conventional memory. So that is about the memory. And what about the input and output address space? So the question is, how do you address these input and output device? Okay, when you say input and output device can be a mouse, keyboard, and output device can be your display or monitor or the printer, okay, and other devices. Okay. That means how do you achieve the input and output in this microprocessor based computer system? Because microprocessor cannot directly communicate with the IO devices. So whether it is a keyboard or a mouse or a monitor or a printer, etc., the computer can locate it, and that means the computer can locate these devices by its IO address, input and output address. Okay, it is also called as the port address. IO address is also called as the port address. That means an IO address, input output address, is a unique number assigned to a particular IO device. Okay. And IO. So, yeah, in the microprocessor based personal computer system, there are around how many input output address? There are, so it is specified in the hexadecimal form actually. So the IO space extends from input output port 40H to port 4FH. Okay, that means in hexadecimal it is from 0 to 65,535 IO ports. Okay, there are totally, if I tell you in decimal now, it is 65,535 IO ports. Okay, and in the IO addresses in hexadecimal is ranges from 40H to 4FH. So there are 65,535 IO ports in the computer. Okay, and they are referenced by the hexadecimal address in the range 408 to 4FH. Yeah. Any doubts here? So an IO port is similar to a memory address, but addresses an input-output device. Okay, and the input-output area contains two major sections. Okay, if you refer the figure here. Okay, so the area below IO location, that is, it is 0400H actually. It is not 0500H. It is 0400H. Is reserved for system devices. Okay, so this area below, so this address. Okay, so it is okay, this area, system device area up to here. Okay, okay, so the area below IO location, that means 0500, sorry, 0400 is reserved for the system devices. Okay, so when I say system devices, the devices on the main board or motherboard and some of the plug-in cards like COM1, floppy disk controller, CG adapter, okay, COM2, and 8255 peripheral device, okay, then timer, interrupt controller, DMA controller, okay, and the remaining area is available IO space for expansion, okay, so this area, okay, so the remaining area is available IO space for expansion on the newer system. So this part, so this part is available for IO expansion. So this diagram shows the IO map, input output map found in many personal computer systems. Okay. Any doubts here? Are you with me, students?
Yes, sir.
So that is about the input output address space. Next, another component in this microprocessor based personal computer is the microprocessor. Okay, you already know some basics about the microprocessor. So what is a microprocessor? the microprocessor is the controlling element in a computer system and is sometimes referred to as the CPU, central processing unit. So this microprocessor can be called as the heart of the microprocessor-based personal computer system, and the microprocessor is also known by the names CPU or the central processing unit. And what is the job of this CPU or the microprocessor? It controls the working of the computer system. Okay, the microprocessor is the controlling element in a computer system. And what are the tasks that are performed by the microprocessor in the computer system? So the microprocessor performs the three main tasks for the computer system. Which are those three tasks? First is the data transfer between itself and the memory or input-output system. Second one is simple arithmetic and logical operations. So which are the simple arithmetic and logical instructions executed by the microprocessor, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and logical operations such as and, or, not, negate, okay, shift, rotate, and so on. And one more point is the memory and input output are controlled through instructions that are stored in the memory and executed by the microprocessor. Means memory and input output are controlled via instructions that are stored in the memory and executed by the microprocessor. Next question is why the microprocessor is powerful. So the answer is microprocessor is able to execute millions of instructions per second. In short, we'll call it as MIPS, MIPS. So able to execute millions of instructions per second from a program or software. Okay, software is, as you know, that it is a group of instructions, okay, which are stored in the memory system. That means the strength of the microprocessor lies in its ability to execute millions of instructions per second from the software or programs. So software and programs are nothing but a collection of instructions. Okay? And these software or program is stored in the memory. Okay. And this stored program concept makes the microprocessor and the computer system itself very powerful devices. And what is one more a task performed by the microprocessor? So program flow via simple decisions. Okay. So what do you mean by that? Microprocessor can decide if a number is 0, positive, and so forth. Okay. And these decisions allow the microprocessor to modify the program flow. Okay. It can jump from one statement, program statement to another program statement easily by testing the condition. So program appears to think through these simple decisions. Okay, next. So another part of this microprocessor based personal computer system is buses. Okay, so if you refer the block diagram of the microprocessor based personal computer system now, the input device, the output device, the memory, and the microprocessor, okay, they are all connected together through buses. Okay, so what is a bus? Bus is a set of common connection or wires that interconnect components in a computer system and carry the same type of information. That means a bus is a common group of wires that interconnect components in a computer system. Okay. And as I said, in the microprocessor-based system, three buses exist for the transfer of information between the microprocessor and its memory and I/O system. These are the address bus, the data bus, and the control bus. the microprocessor connects to the memory and I/O devices through these buses. Okay, and what are the functions of the buses? The buses select an I/O or memory device. Okay, so this is done by the control signals. Okay, control bus. Okay, so control bus is used to select an I/O or a memory device. So whenever the microprocessor wants to communicate with the memory, no, okay. Um, so one of the control signals in the control bus is enabled. Okay. And similarly, whenever the uh, microprocessor wants to communicate with an I/O, no, so one of the control signal is enabled. Okay, for communication. And another function, the buses transfer data between an I/O device or memory and the microprocessor. And this is the job of the data bus. Okay, so the data bus transfer data between an I/O device or memory and the microprocessor. And another function controls the input output and the memory system, okay, through the control signals. So this figure shows how these three buses interconnect various system components such as the microprocessor. So this is the microprocessor. Okay. Then the memories. So which are the memories? Read-only memory, read-write memory or RAM, and then the input and output device, such as the keyboard is an input device and the printer is an output device. So this diagram shows how the microprocessor, okay, communicates with memory and input output devices, okay, through the buses. See here, which are the buses here? This is the address bus, okay. So address bus here it is connected to microprocessor and it is connected to memories, okay, connected to the input device and it is connected to the printer. Similarly, this is the data bus, okay. So this horizontal line, so this is the data bus, it is connected to microprocessor and also the memories, okay, RAM, RAM, the input device, okay, and the output device, okay. Similarly, where is the control bus? So this is the control bus, okay. 4 set of parallel lines are there, no? Okay. So these control signals are MWTC, okay. MWTC stands for memory write control. MRDC stands for memory read control. IOWC stands for input output write control, and IORC bar stands for input output read control. So these control signals are connected to see the microprocessor as well as the memories. Okay, this part. So RAM is only read only, no? So which signal is connected? Which control signal is connected? Memory write. Okay, sorry, it is read only memory, no? So only once you can write it to the read only memory. Okay. And see, RAM is connected to which signals? WTC and WRDC, whereas RAM is connected to only WTC, memory write control, and keyboard is connected to, keyboard is an input device, it is connected to which control signals? For reading, no? Okay, you can read from the IO device, that means input device. So which signal is connected? Control signal is connected, input output record, read control, IORC. And similarly, printer is connected to which control signal? So it is connected to IOWC, okay, input output write control, because printer is the output device, no? You can print something on the printer, isn't it? So that is why the input-output write control is connected to a printer. So as I said, buses, 3 buses exist for the transfer of information. Okay, so these buses are address bus, data bus, and control bus. Let us see each one of these buses in detail. Okay. First, the data bus. So what do you mean by data bus? The data bus transfers information between the microprocessor and its memory and I/O address space. Okay. If you refer the diagram here, the data bus transfers data between the microprocessor and the memory and or the I/O devices. Okay. And note that this data bus is bidirectional. See the double-ended arrow mark here. Okay. So data bus is bidirectional. Okay. So what do you mean by that bidirectional? It is bidirectional because the microprocessor requires to send or receive data, isn't it? Okay. The microprocessor can send data to the memory or the I/O device, or it can receive data from memory or I/O device. So that is why it is called as the bidirectional data bus. Okay. Say for example, say the microprocessor wants to read data stored in the memory. Okay. Say for example, data stored in the memory at address 4. Okay. Then the data stored at the memory address 4, okay, is transferred over the data bus to the CPU. That means the data is retrieved from the memory address 4, say for example, and it is transferred over the data bus to the microprocessor, okay, or the CPU. And note that the data transfers vary in size from 8 bits wide to 64 bits wide in various Intel microprocessor. See here, as I said, 8086, 80286, 8036, SL, SX, and EX transfer 16 bits of data. So what do you mean by that? These microprocessor have 16-bit data buses. Okay, so these data transfer vary in size, okay, from 8 bits wide to 64 bits. And currently, the currently available microprocessor are 64-bit microprocessor. That means the width of the data bus is 64-bit. Okay. So when I say 64-bit microprocessor, they are capable of transferring 64-bit of data, okay, between the microprocessor and the other units. Okay. So similarly, the Pentium through Core 2 microprocessor transfer 64 bits of data. So like that. So this width of the data bus varies, okay, from one microprocessor to another microprocessor. Then comes the address bus. So what is address bus? The address bus requests a memory location from the memory, okay, in order to retrieve data from the memory, or it requests an I/O location from the I/O device, okay, for reading or writing the data. Okay. So that is the job of the address. So suppose if the I/O is address, okay, the address contains a 16-bit input and output address. Okay. So what is the I/O address range? Just now we have discussed now. What is the I/O address range? Anybody? Suppose if the microprocessor selects an I/O, okay, communication. Then how this address bus is used. So if IO is addressed, the address bus contains a 16-bit IO address from the range 40H to 4FH. Okay, it can select any one of the address in the range 40H to 4FH. Okay, suppose if the memory is addressed, okay, then the bus contains a memory address. Okay, and as you know that the memory address varies in width by type of the microprocessor. So if you look at the evolution of microprocessor now, so we have come across the 8086 and 8088 microprocessor. Okay, and what is the width of the address bus on these microprocessor? The 8086 and 8088 microprocessor have 20-bit address bus. Okay, that selects the address locations from 40H to 50H to 5FH, 20-bit address. Okay, so the 20-bit address in hexadecimal is range from 50H to 5FH, and each digit is 4 bits. Suppose if the starting address is 5 zeros, no, then 5 into 4, each digit is 4 bits, no, in hexadecimal. So 5 into 4 is 20. So it is 20-bit address bus. And what is the ending address? 5FH. Okay. So the size of the memory depends upon the width of the address bus. Okay, so the 8086 and 8088 microprocessor addresses 1 megabyte of memory. Okay, using a 20-bit address that selects location from 50H to 5FH. Similarly, the other microprocessors. Okay. So the memory capacity or the memory size depends upon the number of address lines or width of the address bus. So see here, this is the address bus. Okay. See that the address bus is unidirectional. Okay, it is not bidirectional. Okay, because the microprocessor carries memory address to the memory, okay, either to read data or write data onto the memory. Similarly, the microprocessor can send the memory address to the input device in order to read the data from the input device, okay, or to write the data to the printer. So like that. So address bus is unidirectional. Okay, repeating. The address bus is unidirectional because address bus sends out address to the memory or IO device. So that is why it is unidirectional. So reverse is not possible. Okay, because that means you cannot send a memory address to the microprocessor. Okay, there is no use. Similarly, an IO device cannot send a memory address to the microprocessor. So what is the next bus? The control bus. So what this control bus contains? The control bus contains lines or signals that select the memory or input or output and cause them to perform a read or write operation. Okay, so the control bus contains control signals. Okay, in order to control the various units, other units of the computer system, such as the memory or the input and output unit. And these control signals cause these units, such as memory and IO, to perform a read or write operations. And how many control signals are there on this control bus? So 4 control bus connections. So which are those? MRDC, MWTC, IORC, and IOWC. So MRDC stands for memory read control, MWTC stands for memory write control, and IORC stands for input output read control, and IOWC stands for input output write control. Okay. See, observe the diagram here. Okay, so these are the control signals. Okay, so which are connected to memory and the IO devices. Okay. So note that in these control connections, okay, what is this over bar? It is a bar over the control signals. Indicates that the control signal is active low. The over bar indicates that the control signal is active low. That is, it is active when the logic 0 appears on the control line. Okay, these control signals are active when the logic 0 appears on the control line. So the over bar indicates it is logic 0. So when these signals have at logic 0, then they are active. Say for example, if IOWC, okay, consider this control signals. IOWC, it is connected to where? It is connected to printer, no? Okay, so IOWC stands for input output write control. So suppose if IOWC is at logic 0 is equal to 0, then this control signal is active. Then what it means? The microprocessor is writing data from the data bus. Okay, the data is on the data bus to an output device. Okay, whose address appears on the address bus. Okay, because in order to write to the output device, we need an IO address, isn't it? Okay. So if IOWC control signal is 0, that means that the microprocessor is writing data from the data bus to an IO device, okay, whose address appears on the address bus. Similarly, the microprocessor can read the contents of memory location by sending the memory and address through the address bus. Okay, next, it sends the memory read control signal. So where is the memory control signal? So MRDC. So MRDC is connected to where? See RAM, isn't it? It's connected to MRDC. MRDC signal is connected to RAM. No. Suppose the microprocessor wants to read the contents of a memory location. Okay, then this signal, that means MRDC, memory read control, is at logic 0 in order to cause the memory to read data. Okay, so once data is read from the memory, okay, it is passed to the microprocessor through the data buses, through these data buses. So this figure below shows the memory widths and sizes of the 8086 through 42 microprocessor. Okay, in all Intel microprocessor family members, memory is numbered by byte. See the memory widths and the data bus width. Okay, so 8086 has 16-bit data bus. What is the address bus width? 20-bit. This you have to remember. Okay, and what is the size of the memory? 1 megabyte. Okay, so this memory size depends upon the address bus width. Okay, so what is the formula to calculate the memory size? 2 to the power of n, where n is the width of the address bus. 2 to the power of 20 is 1 megabyte. Okay, so here is saying the memory size depends on the address bus width. For example, 20-bit address bus means that the processor can address memory size up to 2 power 20. Okay, how many byte? 1